What's going on, Jeromes? Welcome back. We are live, Daily Jeromes live stream coming at you Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. Central Time. After the Vikings just fall in embarrassing fashion against the winless Atlanta Falcons. Just cool. And it's really unfortunate. The Vikings, like we pointed out last week, they were much more talented than their 1-4 record suggested. They went toe-to-toe with the Titans. They went toe-to-toe with the Seahawks. But this team was just too emotionally hungover, emotionally damaged, and let down by what transpired Sunday Night Football. And frankly, they just quit. The way that this team played at the start, they were flat. Cousins made mistakes, and guys just gave up. And I think that is an absolute indictment on Mike Zimmer. What is your job as a head coach? Get your team mentally ready to play on Sunday. You talk them down when they get too high and buzzed after a big win. You talk them back up out of the gutter after a gut-wrenching loss. But this is all on Zimmer. But, of course, he won't take responsibility at all. And now 3 games you've lost at home out of 6, as well as 3 complete embarrassment no-shows against the Packers, against the Colts, and now the win against the winless Falcons. Dan Quinn was fired for much less. And even though Mike Zimmer has this fancy schmancy contract, that might not save him. That may not save him as the rest of this 2020 season goes along. But yeah, it's unfortunate. We're looking towards the draft. Probably going to end up out of range of Trevor Lawrence because this team will not tank. And this team has too much talent, too much pride. They will probably win 5-6 games. But I'm fully in on Zach Wilson, by the way. Coming out of BYU. Woo! Just did a little bit of film work on him last night. Did up his draft profile. And, yeah, kicking ball. Yeah. I know that his nickname is Mormon Manziel, but I'm more in for the Stormin' Mormon. Let's go. Stormin' Mormon Schwarzkopf. There we go. So got a ton of questions. We'll get this done. Oh, so programming announcement. Since it's the bye week, as well as the weather's starting to get a little bit colder and the deer rut is starting picking up. So after today, I'm taking the rest of the week off of the live stream. Apologies. Sorry, guys, but I'm headed towards to undisclosed locations and hopefully gonna take down a big rope dragger. So it's gonna be a good time. But we'll have our normal video content. So just stay dialed in on that. Also join the Discord. Let's see here. Yeah, link is up in the top left corner. Maybe not. Anyways, link is in the description. Join the Discord. It's a 24/7 version of the live chat. It's a good time. So let's get humping. We got a ton of questions. Let's go. Truck ownership. Spielman, beep, bop, bop, boop. Hey, Jets. We will give you Zim, Kirk, and Barr for your first. I wonder if Joe Douglas, a.k.a. White Suge Knight, would go for that. But when they had interest in Kirk, Mitch McCagnon was the GM, so maybe not. Liner 8702. Realistically, how do you see the rest of the season going? Personally, I see us winning 2 or 3 more games. I think that they will win 6 because you look at the schedule opening up in the middle. Plus, Dalvin will be back because Dalvin. You could say, hey, Dalvin, sit out the rest of the year. But he's not going to do that because he's got incentive clauses. He also can make a Pro Bowl this year. So, yeah, I don't see him just sitting out. So this team is too good just to give games away. Pulford Skull, kind of funny how the line looked pretty good today, and I like the unit together. No penalties, I don't think. But, yeah, Kirk, I'm afraid Monticello lost the game. Yeah, Kirk really did hand it over to the Falcons. And even though – so PFF savaged – Ezra, but I watched the game back, and you could put the sack on him to a degree. I only counted 3 pressures. They counted him for 5, but frankly, I think that he did good. That was his first career NFL start, the first time he's played on the right side of the offensive line in his football career, as well as the first time he's ever played guard. So, yeah. Peter Kopp. If Zimmer isn't fired this year offseason, will he ever be fired before his extension expires? I think they would fire him with 1 to 2 years left for sure. 3, it's where it gets a little bit dicey. That's where it gets a little bit expensive. Plus, you have to pay out his coaching staff if they have time left on their deals. Plus, then you have to hire a whole new coaching staff and new head coach. So, yeah. Mr. Popo, Falcons fans saying that Ridley is better than Jefferson. How much wrong are they? Well, Ridley is good. It's not Justin Jefferson good. I do see Jefferson eventually as a wide receiver 1. Ridley, I even in the absence of Julio, did extremely well, but I still think that he's a much better wide receiver too. I think that he is. I think he's basically Stephon Diggs, where Diggs, solo wide receiver one, he's doing okay in Buffalo, but I think he's much better suited to be a really good wide receiver too. Chase and Gelke. Or skipping the hot dish for the bye week. You should do a Minnesota-inspired episode for the bye. Now, we're going to do a dish. I mean, should we just do tater tot hot dish? I mean, we could, because why the hell not? Also, well, instead of canned cream mushroom soup, we'll just make our own. It's really easy to do. So, hell, maybe we'll do that. Plus, it's good hot dish weather. I think the wife would like that. I mean, there's a reason why both of our kids are born in September. Mike Fickey. Why am I still a Vikings fan? I've been going through this for 40 years. I'm tired. Well, here's the thing, too. Like, so people do have allegiance to sports fans. We're not in the business of telling people how they should be a fan, but people who jump from team to team to team, whatever's hot, because mainly you can't go back to a team once you've left them because they're bad for a while and then they come back, they're hot. Like, you can't be a fair weather fan like that. Nah, but we like the suffering. We like the cold. We're Minnesotan, don't you know? Jackson Robinette. Oh, so I've been watching Fargo. So I love the show Fargo. It's great. Like season 1 was probably the best. Season 4, a lot of people don't have love for season 4, even though it's set in Kansas City. But man, Chris Rock is really good. Man, Chris Rock, not really known as an actor, and yet his portrayal is really, hey, I'm Chris Rock playing this guy from the 50s. But it's still really good. And I'm glad, frankly, I'm kind of glad that Chris Rock got divorced because now he's having to work and put out all this great content, which is really good. But yeah, the Coen brothers, Pride of St. Louis Park, getting it done. Why'd that bring that up? Oh, because of the accents, the Minnesotans, don't you know? Especially, so season 2, it's set in like Laverne, Minnesota, which is down on the ass southwest side. I dated a girl from Laverne in college. Her name was not Shirley. Anyway, yeah, the accents get really thick. Yeah, don't you know? Yeah, it's a little bit much. Next up, Griffin Career. Do you like the idea of just seeing what we can get for Harris and setting him away? Yeah, I don't think Harris is going to be back next year. They're probably not going to work out a long-term deal. They're probably not going to extend him. And it could be a spot where they trade Harris but actually end up paying the bulk of his remaining salary because it'd be hard for a team to take on the rest of that 11.441. But get a first. No, not a first. Probably not a second. Maybe a third. Maybe a third if you take on bulk of that salary. Miles, I don't want to root for them to tank, but I'm not sure what to do at this point. They aren't bad enough to get a top 5 pick naturally. Thoughts? Well, you never want to root for your team to lose. But also, if they just emptied the bench and just played the young guys, I think just through sheer attrition, they could end up dropping a couple games. But like we pointed out today in the videos, like having all the young players out there, and then they learn to galvanize, they learn to come together, and maybe they pick off a good team or two down the stretch. I mean, that could go a long way. You're learning to win together, guys who are actually going to be here for the future. Why not? Kaiser Helm 14, Rick. Hey, Trevor, are you excited to wear the purple and gold? Well, if the Vikings say end up at 9 or 10 or wherever in the draft, and even without a second-round pick next year, hell, trade up for Trevor Lawrence. Just go get him. The move from 9 to 1 as opposed from the 20s to 1 obviously won't be that expensive. Yeah, it still will cost you probably 2 firsts and a second at minimum, but might it be worth it? Although I get that Trevor Lawrence is the golden goose, but I really do like a lot of the other quarterbacks in this class as we're picking through them. Yeah, obviously love Trey Lance. Like Justin Fields, his pocket awareness does scare me. I think Zach Wilson, despite him being a one-year wonder, I really like his game. The quarterback out of BYU, Mac Jones from Bama's looking good. I mean, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks in this class. Skull Lean. How did Ezra play yesterday? If he works at guard, we really only want more piece of good. So overall, 30,000-foot view. We haven't watched the All-22 tape, but he looked okay. There's a couple times where he did give up pressure, but it wasn't like the straight-up manhandling of a Drew Samia, of a Pat Elflein, even though PFF really dinged him. I think that context is really important here. That's why we always like seeing with our own eyes, and not just blindly relying on PFF grades, because sometimes the grades can be deceiving. So I think it's much better to actually see it in your context. And we described how we actually have the game set up. So we'll have the TV straight ahead of us set to the game. We'll have the TV off to the side of us also set to the game, but on a 10 to 15 second delay. So we'll watch the play just like a normal play, and then on the replay, we'll watch how the offensive line did. And it's a weird system, but it just sort of works for us. Let's see here. Oh, let us know where we're watching from and give a couple of shout-outs. What up? Andy Skull. Zach Wilson reminds me of Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. We use all the different arm angles. To a degree, yes. And we point out in the video is that he's got as strong an arm as any quarterback is going to be in this going to have in this class. But the accuracy, it's just he always throws from base. Like you said, he will sidearm it. He will do whatever it takes just to get the ball out. But he's got pinpoint accuracy. Like he just drops dimes, and it's just really good to see. I'm really pumped about Zach Wilson. Daniel Olson, will the Vikings fire Mike Zimmer? I think it's still unlikely at this point, but also never say never. Like I'm just waiting for the tweet to drop, especially after I head out to the undisclosed location where it's going to be like, yeah, Vikings fire Zimmer. Like cool. T-Rag. Myko Knight. I'm spoiled as a sports fan from Los Angeles, and we got the Lakers, Dodgers, UCLA. Been a while. Point being, I'm a huge football fan. I'm a dire Vikings fan since the 90s, but just hurts waking up every morning and watching first play interception. Yeah. Oh, that's a great thing about the West Coast too. Besides the weather, is that the noon games start at 10. So man, like you get up, get a workout in, you go to church. All of a sudden, football. What up? Play Cousins on a trade part. Yeah, I don't think the Vikings will find a trade partner at this point. Sign Rosen, still young and healthy, but rather watch him play. I'm still in on Rosen, but also if the Jets cut loose Sam Darnold or if he's available, I'm in. Trade Yannick to get that second pick back, play all the kids. I hard agree on both of those. Hell, I mean, you could even possibly flip Yannick and get a first out of it. It's a little bit far-fetched, but if a team is in contention and say the Vikings agree to pay the bulk of Yannick's remaining salary in exchange for the enhancement of that draft compensation, I'm in, fully in. T-Rag, if Zimmer is hopefully fired by this offseason, what do you think the chances are we draft a quarterback in round numero uno, make Kirk the highest paid backup by week 8 in 2021? Well, Kirk is either here for 0 years or 2 more years because of the way this contract is structured. So, man, maybe the Vikings just take a massive leap of faith and just cut him. Just eat that $41 million dead cap hit, eat his $21 million fully guaranteed salary next year, and just move on with life. I think it's unlikely, but I would love to see it because just admit the mistake and move on. Take ownership. Let's see here. I think that if Zimmer was fired, I think if the Vikings cut Cousins and fire Zimmer, I don't see how they can't fire Spielman because he was the one who greenlit the extension on Zimmer. He is the one who extended Cousins. So, yeah. Jacob Mejia Megat. What draft pick do you think we're going to get, and who do you think we'll take? I think the Vikings will get 9. I think that they will trade back, and I think they'll end up taking Zach Wilson in the teens. I think they'll recoup that second-round pick somewhere. All right, a couple shouts. Let's see here. Corn from Wilmer. What's going on? Jason Skoll from Mankato. What up? Love that town. Jacob Mejia Megat, Oakdale, Minnesota. Burbs representing. Jake Simmons. Egan. What's up? Purple Rain. Skoll from Wausau, Wisconsin. Preach Ball. Hauling for all y'all. Post Falls, Idaho. What's going on? Jay Ramos. Skoll from South Jersey. Strong Jersey in the house. Cody and Sosa. Skoll from Huntsville, Alabama. What's going on down south? Waz Wumble Skull from St. Cloud. Hunter Williams Skull from Fargo. Bryce Ketterling Skull from Montana. What's going on? Boom Addict Skull from La Crosse. Luke Lesevar Skull from Savage. Maddox Maloney Fargo. Tyler W. Postfall, Idaho. Jeff Knopp, Sioux Falls, baby. What's going on? You guys are the best. Thanks for coming along. It's weird. Our Monday live stream numbers always do pretty good because people are just like commiserating. Sam Ketchum, Lakeville, Goat Riots, Goat Riots. Let's go from Baston. I get it. Adam Andreas, Pine Island, Skull Production, Bay Area, California. Elijah Boom, North Carolina. Come on, raise up. Brad Noel, Shakopee, Romaine, Minneapolis. Nick Coos is also from Fargo, don't you know? And also the Wolves from Maple Grove, Romaine, Minneapolis. You guys are the best. Thanks for coming along. All right, ton of questions. Let's keep on rolling. Connor May, are you on the tank train yet? Not specifically, but it is what it is. I'm not going to go out of my way to root that my team actually loses games, but at this point, it's going to be what it's going to be. And like we pointed out before, just because you have the number 1 overall pick, just because you have the first quarterback off the board, that does not mean success. And also, this could be the deepest quarterback class in NFL history. You don't need to take the first guy. Like, who was the first quarterback taken in the 2017 draft class? Mitchell Trubisky-Ponder. How'd that work out? Who was the second guy? Patrick Mahomes. Who was the third guy? Deshaun Watson. Weird. Patrick Harms. I'm going to stay positive, even though it's pretty tough. We definitely have a prize piece in JJ Dantzler. Gladney will be studs once they get going. Also, Harrison Ham played well yesterday. We'll do a deep dive on Harrison Ham, but he actually played pretty well. I think Ezra will start from here on out because we can play. I don't think he had any penalties. I mean, may as well at this point. Actually, trade Reef to the Cowboys or the Texans, or not the Texans, the Titans. Actually, let's do that up. Trade Reef to Dallas or Tennessee, who just lost their left tackle. So, base. Why the hell not? Trade Billmeyer. Just wait until Justin Jefferson pulls the digs and want out. Well, still early. Still in the honeymoon phase. Trey Bill, are you at the clean house point yet? Meaning trade guys that we love, Thielen, Smith, etc. Not completely. Like, I don't think they would trade Thielen. He's got 4 years left on his deal. Harrison, a trade, I think could be a legit possibility. Same thing with Riley Reef. But yeah, clear the decks. Get rid of some older veteran contracts. And then also play all the young guys. Connor May, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate Ezra Cleveland's performance. Probably say a 6.5. Yeah. Because, like I said, PFF savaged him. But overall, on the surface, just watch him in real time, I think he did pretty well. Bryson Kent. We should make a move for Joe Brady to be our head coach. Man, that would be a rapid ascent. But in terms of young, up-and-coming offensive minds, Joe Brady is certainly up there. I think he's done good things with Mike Davis as well as Hey Teddy. Even though, Teddy. He had a chance to lead the comeback. But yeah, Teddy is very aware of Vikings fans' emotions because if after that Falcons game, Vikings fans saw Teddy lead a game-winning touchdown drive against the Bears for the last-second win, we couldn't have handled it. So he threw that interception out of love for Vikings fans. But yeah, I mean, Brady 2 years ago, he wasn't even LSU's offensive coordinator. He was a passing game coordinator. So that would be a rapid right. Because how old's Joe Brady? He's like, might be like 30. Joe Brady. Yeah, he's 31. In 2016, he was a grad assistant. And wow. Rapid ascent. But hell, why the hell not at that point? I'm still on the Eric Bieniemy train. Jake Simmons, have you heard of freshman wide receiver Jonathan Mann from Rosemont, Minnesota on the Gophers? You should look at his film. He's a beast. I have not. But hey, Big Ten football is back. Maybe he'll get on the field. Tracy McGuire, well, at least we will have a good quarterback next year. It's not a guarantee. Kieran Corral, realistically, what are the options with Kirk within the year? Within a year, I don't think you can trade him. I think that the Vikings at this point just should cut him before the third day of the new league year and his $35 million 2022 base salary becomes fully guaranteed. Just cut him, pay out the $21 million, eat the $41 million in dead cap, and move on. Zach Farmer. Dylan Gabriel is a sophomore at UCF who quietly put out a stout freshman year, is on pace for a better year this year. Possibly mid-round sleeper draft if we keep Cousins. So Gabriel was a guy who replaced the dude who unfortunately tore everything in his knee, right? I forget his name, but he was actually very interesting in terms of NFL stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of dudes that are just rising up. Costello got benched, which is funny to me. yeah, there's just like Tanner Morgan could be in that mix. Gabriel could be in there as well. Derek King, I really like from Miami. I mean, there's just Jamie Newman, formerly Wake Forest, and then he opted out of Georgia. I mean, there's a lot of very interesting dudes in this draft. MD, why can't you be the Vikings GM, please, or at least make your voice heard? Because you'd be speaking for a lot of Vikings fans. Also, who would be our new QB? Well, we know that Spielman watches the channel, so keep up alive. Also, new QB, I'm gonna say right now, Zach Wilson, bam, or hell, Trey Lance. No pants for Trey Lance. Let's go. Connor May, you said last week Zimmer's seat was room temperature. What is it now? It's a pretty robusto 150 degrees. Like, it's definitely warm to the touch. Yeah, and it's also getting hotter. Robot Squirrel. I bet you've answered this before. Why do you say production value at the end of the events? Love you. All right, so this goes back to when we were shooting videos on our iPhone 5. And they were just pretty ghetto, no audio, just like bootleg. Here's what I think, blah, blah, blah video. And frankly, I kind of miss those days. We were just grip it and rip it. But eventually, we got Adobe Premiere. We got some software. We got a good camera. And then we put the intro and outro on. So then we were like, oh, hey, we got production value. And then just sort of stuck. It's really stupid, not interesting, but that's why we say it. Broad Phoenix 22. If the Vikings either get a free agent quarterback, no, never. Not anymore. No more Band-Aids, no more leftovers, or trade for a quarterback. No. Which quarterback do you want to see? Well, I think Derek Carr has come around in Oakland, so I think that they're going to cut Marcus Mariota, where he's on a 2-year deal there. The second year isn't guaranteed, plus he's been hurt. So I would take a shot at Mariota, but only as a backup. Like, draft your guy. Nicholas Meyer. Short yardage plays have killed us in the last weeks. Thoughts on a jumbo package for these situations? Ham at running back, Ezra and Samia at fullback, Jones at guard, run elite ISO or the like. Give me some Ham. Well, it's not like they want the defenses wouldn't be expecting it, though. So, I mean, it's the most basic thing in football. Like, hey, we want to go here. You do not want to let us go there. And they did not let us go there. So, I mean, jumbo package, sure. Some larger bodies in there, but I mean, it just comes down to execution, and the Vikings haven't done it. Traveler, any chance the Wilfs and Zim saw this as a building year for the Vikings, accepting it maybe a losing season? I don't think they went in seeing it as a building year, even though 15-person draft class. But, I mean, the Vikings extended Cousins. They maxed out the cap. They traded for Yannick. I mean, if they did truly see this as a fall down and then rebuild year, after the Daniil tweak, they wouldn't have replaced him. They wouldn't have traded for Yannick. They wouldn't have done that. So, like we point out, the Vikings were in this weird half-pregnant, trying to rebuild on the fly type season. But now I think there's so I'm sure that Spielman could have gone to ownership like, this may be a little bit tough. You have a complete overhaul in the secondary, in the cornerback room, a lot of young pieces on defense. There could be some growing pains, but also the actions of Spielman in free agency and the draft, it just says that no, they were in. They were in. Jason, what are the chances that we might see a big change happen on this team during the bye? Probably pretty low. I don't think Cousins is benched. I don't think Zimmer is fired. But if there were going to be some changes, we pointed this out, I think that it would be Spielman being fired, because you want as much time as possible for the new GM and scouting staff to evaluate the current roster, evaluate Zimmer, evaluate Cousins, as well as get a head start on free agency and the draft. So if there were going to be shakeups, I think Spielman would be fired first. Because also, Spielman was the one who extended Zimmer. He's the one who extended Cousins. So if either of them go, that's an indictment on Spielman, and I think that he would be digging his own grave. Traveler. Liked your video on breaking down Kirk trade cut options. I had Vikings draft a decent quarterback the past few years. We won't be in this mess. Hard agree. That's why I'm on team draft a quarterback every year. Why refuse to draft a decent quarterback instead of extend Kirk? Well, part of it is I think Kirk deep down doesn't want a competent young quarterback behind him, because he saw firsthand what happened in Washington when he stole RG3's job, as well as with Spielman, it'd be like, well, how could we justify spending a draft pick on a quarterback when we're just like this close away? We're just like this far away. We just need this one more piece, one more of that. Yeah. Next up, Will Volkman. What's your opinion on the Vikings potentially trading for Dwayne Haskins? No. absolutely not. I didn't like Haskins in the draft process. His maturity issues are really coming to light in Washington. No, absolutely not. Joseph Dickinson, what do you think about Zach Wilson from BYU? You should check out the draft profile. It's pretty sexy. It's good times. Also, I'm not, even though we do have a BYU hat, I'm not necessarily a BYU fan. I just wear a lot of hats. It's like, I'm not a Gophers fan. Definitely not a Bama fan. I just like hats. Just like having hats around. But I will say that I did get this after listening to the Steve Young autobiography. Steve Young's an interesting cat, man. Also, just thinking like BYU, Lavelle Edwards, where you had Robbie Bosco and Ty Detmer and Jim McMahon just chucking the ball for 400, 500 yards a game back before that was in vogue. I mean, they were putting up insane Lulu passing numbers back when people were still running the wishbone. I mean, it's crazy. It's really cool. I mean, I will almost say that I'm more of a fan of football history than like football. Like if you told me Sunday with the Vikings on bye that I could not watch any games, I'd be like, okay. I'd be like, sure. Like I would catch up somewhere else, but I don't know, just the history game fascinates me. Just does. Next up, Harvey Melber. Would you be okay with the team just trading away names before the deadline? Yannick, Harris, Thielen, and Rudolph. If none of those picks, those pictures were trade for. I'm okay with the fire sale. I don't think anyone's trading for Rudy though. And I'm okay with just cutting Kirk. I'm just rolling the dice. Whatever happens, happens. P16. I know you're tied to Band-Aids, but Rodgers Revenge Tour in Minnesota uniform next year, a la Favre 09. No. Noisy boy. Who do you think should be the starting quarterback for the Vikings if Kirk Cousins gets cut? Rookie TBD, wherever the rookie's going to be. Jonathan Bowermaster. Hey, I know I may be a bit biased, a huge Gators fan, but you should do a profile on Kyle Trask. I do like Trask. I haven't done enough of a deep dive, but we will do that, and we'll crank out a profile on him. Cody and Sosa. The way it's looking, we're just going to get a top 10 pick. Who would you draft? Don't think just pick. I would take a quarterback. Although if Penny Sewell falls, man, that'd be super tempting. What complicates things is the lack of a second round pick. So Penny Sewell potentially could be the best left tackle prospect in decades. But you could have had a spot where you take Sewell and then you trade back into the back end of the first round using your second round pick to take your quarterback of the future. But without the second round pick, that'd be tough. That's why I think if the Vikings just wanted to basically house flip Yannick, okay, I'm in. Adam Andreas, what do you think we would have to trade to the Jets to get Darnold if they start their fire sale? Probably not much. Maybe a fourth. Oren Paul, Bert Favor. Charlie Boatman, thoughts on Joe Rogan's new set? So his comedy set or like his new studio? The new studio, well, I didn't like the new studio setup at first. And he's even said that he doesn't particularly care for it because it was put together pretty hastily when they moved to Texas. But it's sort of grown on me. I think maybe just got used to the old setup where you got the brick wall and you got the Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that. But the new one, I think it's fine. Not wild about it, but overall it's fine. Julian Banks, we should sign Anthony Gordon or Cole McDonald, maybe even Sluter one time. I was never a big Gordon or McDonald fan in the draft last year. I'm obviously a big Sluter fan, but Portland Skull, free Justin Jefferson. He passed Moss's record day and leads the NFL. Thielen has most touchdowns by any wide receiver. But if Kirk's safety blanket Cook is out, he's lost. Gosh, I'm sick of Cousins. Yeah, I think a lot of it, too, was the Falcons just did not respect Alexander Madison. They're just like, we're not biting on play action at all. Bring it, Kirk. Miles Johnson. If you get a one player from any NFL team, remove from our current roster, make interest. Well, the easy answer would be a quarterback, but I might just pick Aaron Donald because that would cure a lot of ills on the Vikings defensive line. But if that'd be quarterback, I mean, Mahomes. Yeah. Juan M. I know not Vikings related, but how's Adam Gase still have a job? That's a really good question because, well, Woody Johnson has got a problem. So, with the stuff coming out against him, he may be forced to team. Joe Douglas, who I like and respect, he's the one who hired Adam Gase. So sometimes there's a degree of stubbornness when that happens. But, I mean, the Jets was doomed to fail to begin with, where the offensive line is a mess. Adam Gase should not be a head coach. Like, he only got his first shot as a head coach in Miami because, hey, he's friends with Peyton Manning. Cool. Awesome. Greg Williams should never be allowed to coach in the NFL again. That was an absolute train wreck waiting to happen. And I don't know what they're waiting for. Because maybe Joe Douglas sees it if the Jets are sold, and then the new owner probably want a new GM. And if he fires Adam Gase after a year and 6 games, that looks bad on him. Well, keeping him makes it look even worse. So who would be a decent interim on that team? Not Greg Williams, though. Wiki Jets stat who? Oh, Jim Bob Cooter, come on down. Man, this is a mess of a team. All right, so Joe Vitt, okay. I mean, Sean Jefferson, that would make some sense. Former great wide receiver. Frank Pollock, sure. Heinz Ward, hell. Yeah. Yeah, why not? All right, so next up. A little known perfection. Give me Lance, damn it. I demand a mobile quarterback. Well, Zach Wilson is called the Mormon Manziel. Justin Fields can obviously move. He ran a 4.38 40. Lawrence isn't exactly a statue either. I mean, a lot of these guys can move. But, of course, Trey Lance, no pants for Trey Lance is certainly at a different level. Andy Shong, how do the Vikings proceed forward in terms of coaching and players if they are thinking ahead for their future? Well, the stubbornness of Zimmer is that he'll play veterans who don't matter. Like, he'll play Dozier, he'll play Jaleel Johnson and Shamar Stephen, and basically just throw up roadblocks on the development of some of these young guys, which is unfortunate. And frankly, I think they should have ownership should approach Zimmer as like, hey, play the young kids so we know what we have for the future, or you're fired. Straight up. Nick Jones. If the Vikings could acquire another first-round pick for the draft, do you think the Jets would take the Vikings number 2, take the Vikings 2 number 1s, and give up first overall pick? Depends where the Vikings would be, as well as depends what Joe Douglas thinks about Trevor Lawrence. Because if the Jets end up at 1, which they're favored to do, I mean, Lawrence is a no-brainer, especially since he's given up on Sam Darnold. Plus, I mean, taking a quarterback high should give you some job security, even though obviously Mitch McCagnon, who took Sam Darnold at 3 in 2018, that didn't give him any job security. Pulford Skull, Andy, what did I say before we need to go ask price for Winston? No. God, no. Cobalt Buddy 89. After looking at Kirk's contract, it looks like the Vikings had released him. Yes. Do they draft a quarterback this year? Before leading team in 22. I think they just have to cut Kirk because you don't want him for 1 year. You definitely don't want him for 2 years, especially at $35 million. No, especially with I mean, the 2022 salary cap isn't guaranteed to go back up. Like, it isn't going to be business as usual. So they have to factor that in as well. Tyler, here's my plan for the Timberwolves. Draft Trevor with the first pick as the NBA draft and trade him to the Vikings. I get it. Nathan Schultz, how would you feel about Josh Rosen and Trey Lance fighting for reps with Ken Dorsey as head coach? Man, I don't know if Dorsey's earned a head coaching job yet, but then again, what have some of these guys done to earn a head coaching job? I mean, if Trey Lance and Josh Rosen, sure, I'd be in on that. Violet Valkyrie, if Zimmer is fired now, the team will get a bump. At this point, it would be safer to not fire Zimmer until the season's is done in order to preserve a higher draft pick. I mean, and I don't think it's a guarantee that they'll get a bump. And no, I don't think Zimmer would fall that flat. This team is too good, and also the schedule opens up in the middle of the season. So I think either way, they're probably going to win 6 games. Derp E, will we sign Tom Brady? No. Brett Vuzelis, I think Justin Jefferson will win Rookie of the Year. He's got a big shot. Like, if he gets his 1,400 receiving yards, I think that he does have a really good shot. Andy Skoll, watching Justin Fields highlights. His wide receiver are wide open more than half the time. Ohio quarterbacks always busted. I smell another bust. Well, I mean, Joe Burrow is technically an Ohio State quarterback. and we always point out scout the player, not the helmet, but it's hard not to see parallels between Haskins and his replacement Justin Fields, where Haskins was thrown to open wide receivers as well, and it's always tough with really good players at really good programs. Is it how good the player is, or is it the surrounding talent? It's like Alabama and A.J. McCarron. There's a reason why he was a 5th-round pick. It was deemed that he had the best offensive line in football. He was always backed up by great running backs and always had great wide receivers. And McCarron has panned out. It's like, oh, yeah, he probably is a 5th-round pick. He probably is best suited as a backup. But you don't want to give demerits to a player for being surrounded by great players. Like, you shouldn't have to take the field with 10 slappies and then just somehow win a couple games, right? But I think that Fields is legit, but the pocket awareness does scare the crap out of me. Just does. Let's see here. W Day, Robbie. If we get a new quarterback in the draft, what's the likelihood he takes over Kirk's job? 100%. Mike O'Knight. Also, play calling today was not great on offense. Yeah, Kubiak did take a step back. Tampa beat by press and Yeah, Tampa Bay had a great game plan against the Packers. Casual fans going on distance. Yeah, the Zimmer's cornerbacks constantly playing off. It is part and parcel that because the pass rush has been so hit or miss, as well as maybe Zimmer just doesn't trust him. It's like the reason why Trey Waynes was always 7, 8, 9, 10 yards off the receiver. And I think at this point they do need to change things. Like, have him press. That's why you brought in Gladney and Dantzler and Harrison Hand. That's what their bag is, press man. So just, if they're going to get burnt, let them go down swinging, not looking. David Ball, number 1, Zimmer fired the Vikings go after Bieniemy? Yes, they should with every fiber of their being. Number 2, if Bieniemy is hired, who do you think will be on staff? That's a good-looking question. I don't really know, but you'd have to look at the staffs of, say, Andy Reid, as well as you'd have to look on the branches of the tree. So you look at the Bears, you look at the Eagles, you look at, hell, maybe Leslie Frazier come back as a defense coordinator on Bieniemy. Like, never say never. Also, what they had at University of Colorado. So I think it's really up in there what they would have. Number 3, does Zimmer get fired during the bye or at the end of the year? I think it's unlikely at the bye. I think if they're going to fire him at the bye, they would have done it by now. I'm just looking just to see if they have announced it. But I think at the end of the year, it's certainly option. Number 4, does Sloan get fired as well? I think he'd be the first one to get fired. If we tank and finish 115, draft Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance. It's Trevor Lawrence, and then it's still everyone else. But everyone else is still really good. Football Talk USA. Was Diggs right about this team? Well, what was his points? No, not really. Samson Romaine. Kendricks to the Steelers for a first and a second. Well, they did just lose Bush. Man, that'd be tough to do. That'd be tough to give up. I know a first and a second is a lot. But Eric Kendricks is so freaking good, man. Nah. I would say no. Robert Barweiler. Do you think Kirk Crumbles should have been benched against Falcons? Yes. Except Sean Mannion was the only other active quarterback because the 2 slappies on the practice squad weren't called up. So, nah. Brett Vuzales, I think Ezra played good. I think he did as well. Manuel Navarrete. What would be the draft order of the season ended today? All right, let's take a look. Tank. All right, so the Vikings, if the season ended right meow, the Vikings would be at 6. It's a logjam, a bunch of 1-5 teams. Also, yeah, RIP Texans. Man, the Dolphins are winning games, and they're just looking good. I love the Dolphins. So, yeah, right now the Vikings would be 6. So just looking at who be ahead. Jets need a quarterback. Washington needs a quarterback. Giants probably stick with Daniel Jones. Falcons should draft a quarterback. Jaguars should draft a quarterback. So that'd be 4 teams ahead of them in the quarterback market. So, it gets murky fast. But either way, say the Giants take Micah Parsons, and then all of a sudden Penny Sewell just falls in the Vikings' lap at 6. Like, okay, I'm in. But except they'll take the Virginia Tech cornerback or Patrick Surtain the second. So Zimmer just gets his cornerbacks, and then you're just like, ugh. Let's see here. Brett Vuzales, do you think Mike Zimmer will be fired end of the season? Maybe. Waz Rumble, do you think Zimmer should be gone before the Green Bay game? If they get embarrassed at Green Bay, I think you could see a change. Legit. Mano Juskus, Vikings have the 8th overall pick and top 3 quarterbacks off the board. Who are you picking? Well, it depends on who goes in the interim because Micah Parsons is a beast. The DN from Miami's solid. You like starving for Marvin, the D tackle from Florida State. I mean, Penny Sewell is the obvious answer. I'd say Penny Sewell if he fell. RJ Free is not re-signing Everson going to be Spielman's biggest mistake? No, there's a lot of mistakes. Seems like a butterfly effect on a season with emotional leader and no fans to drive you or to coach you. I mean, overall, Everson has been getting pressures, getting sacks in Dallas. He hasn't been phenomenal, but especially at that cheap price tag, I would have brought Everson back. Everson back as opposed to trading for Yannick, even though Yannick the Freak has been great, but you save that draft capital. And also, apparently they should have worked something out with Xavier Rhodes, where he obviously wasn't worth that price tag, but the whole frenemy relationship between Zimmer and Rhodes that finally came to a head. I mean, it's certainly on Xavier for not playing up to his potential as well as being hurt, but is that really on him? But you do have to, Mike Zimmer does need to shoulder a portion of the blame for alienating one of his best corners and driving him off. Andy Skull. No Cook, no play action, well land defense rank. Not great. We know what Kirk is. Harvey Melber. Say Vikings land the second overall pick, but sit behind a team at 1 like the Jets. Take Trevor Lawrence. Do you trade the farm to go up get 1? No, I would just take who's ever left over. Could be Fields, could be Lance, could be Zach Wilson. I'm fine with it. Or do you trade down? Oh, man. Don't tempt Spielman with trading down. But and I know people are freaking out about trading down, but if you're able to move down and still get one of the top quarterbacks that you're interested in and to recoup some of that like second round pick, say why not? Colin Andrus. If we trade Kirk or cut whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yes. Nick Groff, if you're Eric Bieniemy, you're going to have to choose where to go out of these teams. What looks most appealing to you? Jets, Texans, Vikings, Falcons. Well, the Vikings makes a lot of sense. He's already got a relationship with the Wilfs and Spielman if he's around. Also, he was the assistant head coach in 2010. So, I mean, it could have gone that he was the interim head coach as opposed to Leslie, but yeah, it's a whole nother can of worms there. Let's see here. So, Florida. Nah, that doesn't make sense. Jets. I think there's just so much dysfunction with the Jets organization that unless there's new ownership, that's a tough spot, even with Trevor Lawrence. Texans with Deshaun is super interesting. Also, you're in Texas, no state income tax. There are some intriguing... Well, I was going to say there's some intriguing defensive pieces, except there isn't really. Also, you're really hamstrung by the draft decisions by Bill O'Brien. Falcons, well, if they draft the replacement for Matt Ryan, it's going to be tough to move Matt Ryan because he has a lot of dead cap remaining on his contract. But you have the remnants of Julio. Gurley is whatever. That offensive line is young and relatively solid. You do have a lot of speed and Deion Jones on that defense. So maybe Atlanta would be more promising. Amari McCory. Is all possible? Rather than firing Zimmer, we demote him to defense coordinator and hiring a new head coach when the season's done. That would never happen. Connor Keck. Who gets fired first? I think it would be Spielman. Sio Nagona. Why don't people notice how bad Jaleel is? He is extremely terrible. He is not good. I'm not here. Sign Kaepernick. Nah. Waz Wumble. Do you think one of the quarterbacks in the draft could lead us to the Super Bowl? Yes, I think a handful of them could. Average gamer, the Vikings the best 1-5 team in NFL history. They certainly are, which is the most frustrating as a Vikings fan. Scully, as of this week, Vikings got the second pick. No. Trade that Barr and Cousins of the Jets for the first, draft Lawrence. I mean, I'd be okay just getting rid of Barr and Cousins' contract. That could be worth it. Polo Goat, hire you to play QB. I don't think you want a 5'7 QB. I mean, Kyler's one thing, but nah. Westworld, fire the Wilfs. No, the Wilfs are good owners. They just give too much trust to their underlings. It's unfortunate. So, all right, that is it. That's the only live stream for this week. Again, like I said, sorry, we're taking Tuesday through the rest of the week off because we're going hunting off to undisclosed location. But fortunately, whenever we go out, big news breaks. So keep Skull alive, keep hope alive. Subscribe if you haven't already. Keep it locked here. We'll have videos all week and looking towards the future. Zach Wilson one time. But thanks for coming along, Jeromes.